Zoom controls. No. All right, we have people coming in. Welcome everyone. We'll get started in just a minute as people come in. We're so excited to have you for what's actually our last Sphero session for the school year. So glad you could make it at the end of the year. I know it's probably busy. As we wait to get started, we'll get started in just about a minute. Introduce yourself in the chat. Let us know where you are coming from, what you teach, your name. I guess your name's on there, but anything else? What you teach, whether you're hosting a summer camp or whether you're looking for just ideas for after school. All right, it's kind of slowed a little bit, the participants coming in. So I think we'll go ahead and get it started because we have a lot of great things to cover today. We have 2 Sphero heroes as well as a member of the Sphero content team that are going to share some really great ideas. I'll introduce them in a minute, but before we get started, just some housekeeping. As you might have seen, this is 45 minutes long, and we are recording it, I believe. We are recording this, right, team? Why can't I see? Oh, it is recording. Good. So we'll send that out along with the slides to you after, including all the links. You may have already noticed your audio is muted and your camera is off, so you don't have to worry about that. A bunch of you are already using the chat, so feel free to communicate with the educators in there, with other educators in there. And then if you have questions for our speakers, try to ask those in the Q&A so that we can be sure to see them. And then we'll be answering questions, both the speakers and the Sphero team. We have Kendra and Amanda that will also be answering questions there. So yes, as I said, this is our final session for this year, but we will resume in fall of 2022. So make sure you keep an eye out for the announcement of our first webinar. All right, with that, I'm Cassie. If you've been to Sphero sessions before, you've probably seen me. I'm Sphero's marketing manager, and our speakers today, I'm really excited, are Christy, Brandy, and Adrian, and I'm actually going to let them introduce themselves. So Christy, do you want to go first?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Christy Ruffin, and I teach robotics and coding to 7th grade students in just outside of Hot Springs, Arkansas.
Brandy, would you introduce yourself?
So I'm Brandy New. I am in Central Kentucky. I've taught elementary school, high school programming, been an ed tech coach, and I'm now director of innovation. So I get to do all kinds of fun stuff.
Adrian.
And I'm Adrian. I'm an education content manager here at Sphero. And before this, I was a high school robotics and engineering educator and ran all sorts of robotics camps and things like that. So I'm excited to be here today.
Thank you, everyone. We're going to kick things off with Christy talking a bit about her experience, but I did want to say before we get started, if you're trying to communicate with everyone in the chat, just make sure you change your drop down to everyone, otherwise just the host and panelists can see it. So just a note there. We also have live transcription available if you would like that. You just have to enable it in your Zoom controls. So here we go. All right, take it away, Christy.
Okay. So each summer I host a STEAM camp at my school for students in grades 2 through 6. We usually have about 100 students that show up, and we hold it for 3 days. And it's set up in centers. So the students during the 3 days, they rotate through various centers. So what I'm going to do today is share some of the activities that the students participate in to hopefully give you some ideas that you can take back and use in your camps or in your schools. On the screen, you'll see some of the goals and objectives for the camp. One of the big ones that I want to do with younger students is to get them interested in the STEM field. A lot of times students don't know what's available, what courses are available at the schools. And so I want to get them interested and to educate them on things that they can participate in the future. So, and most importantly, we want to have fun over the summer. So. Okay, so the first center I want to talk to you about today is just an exploration table that I have set up full of littleBits. So if you're not familiar with littleBits, they're so much fun. They're just, let's see how to explain it. They are little magnetic pieces that can snap together to create different types of circuits that do different things. So for example, they snap them in the correct order. They might make a buzzer sound, or they can make a fan spin. And to help them get started in that, there are some free task cards that you can actually download from Teachers Pay Teachers. And there's a picture of one of them on the slide here that the kids use. So they can use these to create different circuits. And it's so fun seeing their faces light up and oh yeah, when they make something happen. And so I have those there for the kids to look at, but then they can create, once they figure out how it works, they can create their own little inventions along the way too. Another thing that I like to do is to have different types of takeaways that the kids can take home after the camp. So we build it, they learn how to use the materials, and then they can take them home for the summer. So last summer, we used the electronic music inventor kit. Cassie, will you go ahead and show them what that is, that video?
Yes.
Electronic music inventor kit, kids can build and customize their own instruments. Through hands-on and digital play, kids aren't just playing, they're building their own toys and tech. The free Inventor app guides kids through over 12+ musical activities, like building their own electric guitar, hands-free air drums, or a dance guitar that matches musical beats to their moves, all while learning STEAM skills. This kit comes with everything kids need to rock out, including 9-bits, instrument templates, a free app, video instructions, and battery.
So that was a huge hit, and they love the fact that you could actually do different types of inventions with that same kit. And you can see the little girl down on the bottom. One of the moms sent me that picture. She was like, oh my goodness, my child is having so much fun with this. And I just died when I saw the video. It was hilarious. Another one of the takeaways the kids got last year was the Bubble Bot. And it's a little bit set. We'll go ahead and look at the video and then I'll tell you about it. So that was super fun when you have about 50 kids running around blowing bubbles with those. So that was a fun takeaway that the kids could take home after the camp and play with in the summer. Another activity the kids participated in was Sphero Battle Bots. So this was a ton of fun. They got to be creative and engineer their own costume for their Sphero Bolt robots. So basically, I gave them lots of different materials to choose from, and they would put a cup over the top of the robot, and they would try to figure out different ways to make it stable. And they had a tack at the end of one of the rods that they had to attach somewhere on their bot. And so they would drive it around and try to pop each other's balloons. So if y'all want to take a look at that video. That was the last man standing. Okay, so the arena, super easy to make. You just run a string through pool noodles, and you can make it as large or small as you want to. Okay, and then a few other different centers that I had set up were, or stations. We had a stop motion animation station where the kids use the stop motion app, which is a free app you can download to create their own stop motion animation movies. And I just gave them tons of different materials that they could use and make all kinds of movies with that. We also did a paper chain challenge where they were given tape, scissors, and a piece of paper, and they were trying to create the longest paper chain possible. And it's pretty amazing when you see a chain that goes completely across the room with one sheet of paper. So they had fun with that. And we also had a paper airplane challenge where I gave them different designs to check out and test. So they had fun going outside and seeing whose airplane design would fly the furthest. I always try to have a guest speaker in the STEM field that excites the kids. This past year, I had a drone pilot out of Oklahoma, and he brought in just a lot of his different drones. He actually works for lots of different companies. He has worked for Disney recently on one of their movies, but he brought in a lot of his drones, flew them around for the kids, told them what he did. One of the coolest things was we Skyped with a guy from his company who was based out of Florida, and he actually coded a flight path in Florida, and we were in Arkansas, and he downloaded it to the drone, and we saw the fun design that he made in the sky with the drone. So the kids were just, fascinated that you could actually do that with drones. And on the next slide, you can see, I'm not sure how good the quality is because you can see he brought a super fast drone that flew across the field, and they had a blast watching that one. And so that was his aerial shot. So believe it or not, that's about 100 kids in that picture down there on the left. He was just way up in the air. It doesn't look like it, but super fun guest speaker. The kids loved him. And I happened to come across this on social media. I think it was on Twitter, where I saw some college students who filled up a pool with this weird mixture, and they were running across it. And I was like, okay, so the STEM teacher in me was like, oh, that is cool. What did they do and how'd they do that? And so there is the recipe that I used on the screen. There's actually several different ones online when you look it up, but basically you mix cornstarch and water, and you can put food coloring in it if you want to, but it creates, they call it oobleck, but it's actually thick enough where you can run across it. And if you pick it up and you can pour it with a cup, it's a pretty fun little mixture if you haven't tried it before. And it's inexpensive. And so the kids go outside and they practice, they get the consistency correct, and they just dump it in the pool. And at the end of the day, we all run on water. So tons of fun. Kane's Arcade. This is a great little story. I'll let you watch the clip and then we'll talk about it.
When you're a lonely 9-year-old boy, an empty cardboard box can be a universe of possibility. And sometimes the real world takes notice, responding with simple human kindness. ABC's David Wright takes us to the garage where dreams are made.
It's a funhouse arcade made of cardboard boxes.
The first game I made.
9-year-old Kane Monroy built it in his dad's auto parts store at a junkyard in East LA. Here we go. Kane's Arcade is pretty intricate. I missed. There's basketball and soccer and a homemade claw machine.
I got tokens, passes, and prizes.
He used his own toys for prizes. Everything manual. One thing Kane didn't have was customers. Kids at school didn't even believe he had an arcade. Then filmmaker Nirvan Melick walked in.
It's got to go into one of those hoops.
Yeah.
Looking for a car door handle. Instead, he found a movie.
And then when you score a point, he would crawl into the box and he pulls out these little tickets out of the side of the cardboard.
Like real arcade game tickets come from the bottom.
And I was like, this kid's a genius.
He came up with a special surprise for Kane. He put out the word on the internet, and one Saturday, while Kane was getting pizza with Dad, hundreds of total strangers showed up, a throng of customers for Kane.
We had people coming from everywhere. I couldn't believe it.
Cameras rolling as Kane finally arrived.
Wow, what's going on over here?
He got out and he said, wow.
The movie posted online late Monday. Nearly 2 million people have watched it, contributing more than $100,000 to a college fund for Kane. What did it make you feel like?
Proud. People know arcade.
He's just psyched the movie. Looks too hard for me.
Not that hard.
Means he'll soon have a lot more customers. Awesome. David Wright, ABC News. What a prize. Los Angeles.
When you were alone,
Oh my goodness, that is such a wonderful story. There's a documentary on YouTube. It's about 10 minutes long. I highly suggest you take a look at it because it's a heartwarming story, and it's inspirational to the students. I mean, of all ages. I mean, I've used this with upper level kids and they love it and they can't wait to try to make their own arcades. So one day of the STEAM camp is just devoted to Kane's Arcade. And if you'll go to the next slide, you can see some of the kids' creations. So what I do is I just give them a ton of different materials to choose from. And I tell them, okay, so we're going to do what Kane did. We're going to make our own arcade. And they get so excited that they ask for it every single year. And so they make their own arcade game. I teach them about the engineering design process, and the students work through that in the morning with their groups. And they try different designs and they come up with the final one they want to share. And we turn the gym into an arcade. And so the second half of the day, they play the arcade. They invite their parents in when they're picking them up to come check out their games. So it's a great activity that the kids love and just really shows their creativity. So what I hope from the STEAM camp is that the kids take away, new knowledge about the field, new activities that they can, step away from the video games and stuff, and have fun in the summer with it. So I look forward to it every single year.
Amazing. Thank you. And we had a few questions that I think might be nice to answer right now. Some people are wondering if you charge for your camp.
I do. It's around $100, and with that cost, and I do give out scholarships to students in all the different grade levels. But with that, they get materials that vary. They have some type of takeaway, whether it's littleBits. I've done the Sphero Mini a couple of times. I've given out the little 3D pins. They get t-shirts, snacks, all the STEM materials, what they build and create throughout the camp, they take home with them. But yes, I do charge, but I also do scholarships for students who are unable to pay. And then as far as like the helpers go, I use the older students in the school. They love to come in and work with the kids, and they're familiar with the materials already, the littleBits, the Sphero products, they know how they work. So they're super big help with me on that one.
Awesome. And are they full days?
Yes, it starts at 8:30 and we end at about 2:30. So
awesome. And would you mind if you have the app link for the stop motion app, would you mind dropping that in the chat, or just like letting us know what the name is?
It's just called Stop Motion. Let me double check on my phone right here. Yes, if you just search Stop Motion, it is a free app that's easy for the younger kids to use. It's not very complicated. It's basically, it just takes pictures and then it just sets them in action in a movie. But yeah, it's called Stop Motion.
Awesome. Thank you, Christy. And if you think of any other questions for Christy, feel free to put them in. We'll have more Q&A at the end. So we're not sorry. And with that, I'll pass it off to Brandy.
I know. I think Christy hit on the big one, which is have fun. Yeah. So I've done camps. I don't know. I mean, I feel like ever since I was in high school, which is a really long time ago, for different organizations and stuff. And then once I got into education, started doing STEM camps and then STEM parent nights and even like STEM weekend events. And Christy kind of took you through like a whole one, but there's just some things that I have learned over the years that I think are good tips to share. Because I know a lot of people are kind of maybe designing and doing, STEM camps maybe for the first time or something like that. So I wanted to share some of the things that I've learned over the past, decades, so that you all don't have to learn them on your own. Yeah. So fun is great, but I have found that we still have to have some sort of, or it helps if you have some sort of routine. It helps the kids, and then it also kind of helps me for planning. So a sample routine, and you guys were asking about like how long and how many hours. A lot of times that depends on like what you have and the rest of your circumstances, right? but I would build a routine around it. Like this summer, we're gonna have this is our sample routine this summer, but like an SEL check-in, and that can be a STEMmy, like team building exercise, bringing in a picture book and reading something like that to have the literature tie-in, and then kind of going on, don't, trying to have a math moment, that sort of thing. So we're getting content into just whatever you decide your routine is, but I like to have a routine every single day. And can we go to the next slide and then come back to this one? I probably should have done that. One of the routines was, and something we found over the years is, yes, we did use Sphero a lot at all my camps. But by letting them have, and that's what the time lapse is, if you want to throw it on, that's about a 75 kid camp, and this is morning check-in. And so we would go ahead and put the Sphero out. But that way, real quick, I could pop around, show a few girls how to use it. They would just have free play, which was mass chaos and confusion, which is awesome. The parents love that as they come in to drop them off. But then when it got time to like complete a task, they had already discovered so much, if that makes sense, that they already kind of knew, and I wasn't having to teach them every single thing about the Sphero too. And then at the end of every day, like Christy, I use high school helpers a lot, and they love to play sharks and minnows. It drives me insane, but that's fine. But once again, it's that time when the parents are picking up the kids at the end, to where you've got this weird gap of time and they're coming and going and you're trying to figure out what's going on. So we would stop and play sharks and minnows with the Sphero. That was always one of our end of day activities. That's when I would like walk out of the gym and just check kids in and out and refuse to be present because it was like wackadoodle. But anyway, we can go back to the other one. Sorry, I probably shouldn't have asked you to do that. To go through. Anyways, as far as staffing and training, I know that's something, even if you're paying folks, or maybe you can't, when you're thinking about adults, always lean on, your parents. You got a kid that's come every year, or, whatever. Some of those people really want to get involved. It's actually how I first got involved in a nonprofit. Was I took my daughters and then was like, well, this is fun. Can I stay? And I kept going back year and year, every year. So parents, and then also for staff, PD, if you have that ability in your district, is that you would, sorry, I was reading the chat too and I got distracted. Anyways, so if you can offer PD for teachers, so like you take a day, you give that as PD credit, and you teach them and you let them, this is how the littleBits work. You let them do what the kids are going to do later in the week. And then those same teachers either give them PD credit or pay them if you can to be there for the rest of the week. And then I also use the teenagers. I would, scrounge the kids out of my programming class in high school. They always need hours for something, right? I used to say that we ran our STEM camps off of coffee and pizza because I had older kids. So I would bring iced coffee every morning and we would feed them pizza, buy them a t-shirt when we could. And, that was really all it took. I would start a spreadsheet the first time they volunteered for me, and I would put their volunteer hours in there, hoping that then when they were a senior, they didn't come back to me and go, hey, Ms. New, how many times have I volunteered over the past 4 years? I'll be like, I don't know. So we did that. And then I told them, like, add all the rest of your volunteer hours on there too. And so if you've got engineering, IT, programming classes, or any kind of like beta, or what did we talk about? We talked like BEX teams or robotics teams, esports teams are really trying to like get involved in the community the way other sports teams would these days. And just lean on those kids who are a little techier anyways, or maybe you'd be interested in it, train them up on it, and then, have them in their camp. I think parent engagement is something that we really found a huge push with over the years. One of the specific groups that I worked with was elementary and middle school girls and doing STEM camps for them. And a lot of times there's a barrier with parents when you say, oh, like STEM jobs make more money, or your kid wants to take the STEM class or whatever. And it sounds scary. And I've actually had parents say to me like, oh, well, like I didn't go to college, my kid's not smart, they can't be an engineer. And it sounds scary. So we would make these little like take home things for parents saying like, this is the quick of what we did. It wasn't really that hard. It was a battle line. So, and they use the engineering design process in that. So anytime at home that you use that, or give them a take-home activity for the evening, just to get the parents engaged and to kind of take some of the fear out of it for them too. So they were comfortable talking to the kids about what Christy said, like, this can be your job. This is a job. This is super cool. That way they would feel comfortable talking to their kids. So parent engagement, funding is something people were asking about Christy's camp. Yeah, have I charged? Sure, I've charged. But when possible, we try to get creative with funding. I think finding your niche is really important there. So like I did work STEM camps for little girls. It was called Shattered Glass, like Shattering Glass Ceilings, was the company that I worked with. And so we could really lean on that. We have a lot of like factories, like industrial in the area. And so a lot of them, yes, they have to give away X amount of dollars, but they also have to give away X amount of dollars to women in STEM or minorities in STEM, whatever their company is telling them they have to do. So we would write up a proposal and go to Dow, used to be Dow Chemical here, it's a big factory, and be like, okay, I can service 100 girls for a 3-day camp all day long and feed them and pay the teachers for $9,000. And they would just write us a check. And it was because it was meeting a need that they had as well. Those corporations are giving away money. So funding, think about like getting kind of creative with it. Also on this particular camp, our school does like catch-up camps in the summer for math and reading. So they send buses out to pick those kids up. Well, if we held the camp at one of our lower income schools, the buses were already running to pick them up. We're like, are the buses full? They said no. And I said, awesome. So I shoved like, another 40 kids on their buses. That way it removed that barrier of busing, because there are kids whose parents work all day in the summer and can't do that. Or they just, even if they're not working, they don't have a ride. So we got creative about tagging all of that in, and we're able to give them breakfast, lunch, a t-shirt, a bag, and all the things just by kind of playing with funding. I know we have ESSER dollars right now, but one day those are going to go away. So just kind of, be creative about where it is you're thinking about that you're getting your money. We have rural areas in my county as well. So like when I say niche, some of our farming communities are doing ag STEM camps. So they have tapped into things, and please, if y'all are like, that's the countryest thing I've ever heard of, sorry, I live in the country. It is a farming community, but like they've tapped into like the Beef Cattlemen's Association and who else? Another one, Farm Bureau, whatever it is. And so they've gotten little donations from all of these people. And so like they got drones from Farm Bureau. They're going to use those to show about drones and farming at their agriculture STEM camp this summer. Then they have drones in their school for next year too, right? Or they could give them to the kids, whatever it is. That way they just kind of played into their community, and the community is serving them with, the money at the same time. I think the other thing that I have learned over the years, the biggest takeaway is I get so excited. Like I saw Christy's slides yesterday, we practiced, and I was like, I'm rewriting all my summer camps to involve walking on water. Like I see something on Twitter or I hear an idea and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so awesome. And so I'd have too many ideas. So I found for myself that if I had a theme, that it really helped me to like stay focused and make sense of what was going on. So if you'll go forward 2 slides. And this is a couple, and then one more.
There we go.
Yeah. So, and I put all my curriculum like on here. It's not super fancy, y'all, but it just, if you want to see like how I organize it so that I can hand it to either like teen volunteers or parent volunteers or teachers that were working for me, or even if you're looking for ideas, I linked a bunch of them on here. But one thing we were really successful with was holidays and special occasions. So we would do like a winter STEM-tacular, and we would do ornaments that we would stuff the ornaments with slime. I think the little girl there at the bottom, the Sphero, was Santa Claus, and they had to build a house for Santa, if that's whatever. We've done Valentine's Day stuff. I can't remember. We did some others as well. But just kind of doing like a 3-hour, Saturday hit kind of thing. Computer science, obviously, since I taught it, that was another biggie for me. And on the computer science curriculum, I'm trying to remember which one it is, and now I can't remember. Because we were dealing with females, and that's what the camp was geared toward, we always kind of leaned into like, you can't be what you can't see. So we would base our activities off of a female in STEM. So at the top, that is a maze. And it was Mae Jameson. And so they actually learned about one of Mae's trips to space. And then they had to put pictures in order and then do their maze. By the way, if you don't put your mazes on shower curtains, you should. I put all my things, mazes, targets, anything like that. I tape them out on shower curtains and then like clear plastic ones, throw them on the floor. And then when I'm done, I just pick them up and I carry them to the next room or the next place because I use them all over again and again and again. Anyways, some of these kids have probably ran the same maze like 47 times and don't realize it because I just changed the theme. But so that was one. We did one with, I say it wrong every time, Betsy Johnson and the female programmers, the team of them, where they actually use like some code.org curriculum for hardware. And they got to take apart a bunch of old, you can see them here, like hard drives that were in our, I work in the technology department. So I just stole a bunch of old hard drives and steal them. They were going to the garbage and we got out the real tools and they took them apart and we learned about like the precious minerals and stuff in there. And we named the CPU and whatever. And then they got to make jewelry out of it. So that little girl at the top is wearing like, I don't, what is that? Like a motherboard with some alligator clips. I wore like a bracelet that was made out of computer wires for years that someone braided for me. So those are just, you know, some kind of cool ones. Except code.org is a big one there. I think I have what else do I have there? I can't remember what else I have. Oh, and then this at the bottom, the water, you know, the Sphero, if you didn't know that they're waterproof, please put them in water. It's the best thing ever. The Bolt and the Mini and the old school. What was the first one called?
Spark Plus. Yeah, Bolt is the waterproof and Spark Plus are waterproof. Mini actually isn't.
It isn't?
No. Do you put it in there?
Sorry, I didn't say that. Thank you for correcting. But that's really cool. That's an inflatable raceway. It's a Boy Scout thing. It's called a Raceway Regatta. So you fill it up and then you put them in there and, you know, that's always a big crowd pleaser. So theme, if you'll go to the next one. I think I have on there last year, we did kind of like Christy was talking about stations once again with elementary, and they did a lot because after like 30 minutes, they're ready to move anyways. Chemistry, Sphero, biology. We did an introduction to engineering. That's the one you saw the parent one on. And so like different, you know, strands of engineering and then played with each of those. So yes, we built a bridge for, you know, one of the strands of engineering and then ran a Sphero over it. That one might be the one that Lindsay is in. There used to be a female engineer at Sphero, Lindsay Cross, I think was her name. She was young and she was cool and the girls loved her. And so she taped a little interview for me and she was one of our featured STEMinists that we did activities around. I have noticed that with middle school kids, they kind of do better if I can take one project and work it out for a couple of days. So instead of like doing maybe the centers, like a full blow, like that's a mission to Mars. This is not my curriculum, but I have that link there. It's from Eurekis. It's a team of artists that works with NASA. And that shoebox rover there, which you could tie into the Sphero rover and do like other activities with the Sphero rover, right? The mission to Mars and learn all of the things about that. It could take you 3 days to build that shoebox rover if you do each little simple machine that's involved. And so I have found that I feel like with the middle school kids, sometimes they like that extended project feel where they're working on the same thing for maybe an hour a day with other curriculum built in, and then they have something that's substantial to take at the end. So those are, like I said, just some of my tips and tricks. Don't know if any of them will help, but it's what's helped keep me focused over the years. I think I just lost focus in the 10 minutes I talked. So I have a real hard time with that. So having that theme really helps me to like stay on point. Hope that helps.
I definitely think it's a lot of helpful information that you just gave. Thank you, Brandy. Very good. And finally, Adrian is going to talk a little bit about some summer camp guides that we have put together.
Yes. Thanks, Cassie. So we've actually put together 3 guides specifically for summer camps. One for Indy, one for Bolt, which can be modified a little bit to work with minis. You would just have to omit some of the activities that rely on some of the features that Bolt has that the minis do not. And then also with littleBits. And so Cassie actually has our landing page up. So if, again, this link, somebody is probably going to post it it in the chat in just a second, but this will also be in the slides that get sent out in a couple days. And there are links on this page to all 3 of these guides. So like I said, first one is with Sphero Indie. We have a bunch of activities in there, and these are all just PDFs, so you can download them, you can use them for ideas, you can, you know, rewrite things for your specific, you know, camp, and, you know, use the activities any way you want. So with Indie, we have tons of interdisciplinary content. And so as you go through the guide, you'll see, you know, just some tips from Sphero on how to run, you know, groups and activities with Indie, and then some activities. If you can go back and click on the Bolt one for me, Cassie. So in Bolt, kind of walks you through again what the guide covers, some materials that would be really useful, and kind of encompassing in all of the activities that are listed in here. And then we do link out to all of the activities in the guide are in the Sphero EDU app. And so they can be accessed on the programming devices, whatever programming devices you're using in your camp, which I did see a question earlier about students using their own devices or, you know, school devices. I know that in the past we have at our summer camps have always used school devices, and I know a lot of schools now have more one-to-one technology that isn't being used during the summer. And so last year at one of the summer camps that I was at, we were actually able to work with our IT department to use some of the Chromebooks that were used for one-to-one to students during the year as programming devices for our camps. And then lastly is the littleBits summer guide. Christy talked a lot about some of the activities that you can do with littleBits. This is set up similarly to the Bolt guide, where we give a list of materials and then a list of activities that would be appropriate for summer camps. So all of those guides are available, like I said, on the link was posted in the chat, and you can at any time go to that landing page. I did want to mention as well, Brandy brought up earlier that ESSER funds are available to a lot of school districts right now, and those these summer programs and Sphero products for the summer programs would qualify for to be used with those funds. And if you have any questions about that, you should contact your Sphero rep, and they would be able to answer any of your questions about that. I also wanted to add one thought onto Brandy's idea about getting creative with funding and using resources within your school district to help. I taught at a Title I school district for many years, and one of the programs that we always took advantage of when we were running summer programs was the summer school lunch program. And so we always had 2 campuses that would provide breakfast and lunch to any student in the district that went to those campuses. So we would work with our district to make sure that those campuses were the ones that we were hosting summer camps at. And so then all of our students at the summer camp would be eligible to get breakfast and lunch at the summer camp. And that always worked really well for us. So, and that's all I have, Cassie. So I'll turn it back over to you.
Awesome. Yeah. With that, if anyone has any, I think maybe I'll let Christy and Brandy weigh in on the devices too. Do you generally use your school's devices, or do you have students use their own devices?
The school does let me use the devices, so I normally bring in a handful of iPads for the kids to use.
One of the things that I tell people I love about Sphero is that you all keep the apps, I don't know what the technical term is, but like low end, like you don't update them. So to the point though where they won't run on, that you have to have like super new stuff. I have 7-year-old Kindle Fires that will do nothing but run Sphero. Like that's all they do. But I saved them from salvage, and I'm like, whatever. So like my Sphero stay with the Kindle Fires. So a lot of times you can find devices that other people older iPads or iPad minis that people don't want because they don't update or don't get the newest stuff, and they'll still run the Sphero app.
That's good to hear. Yeah. Good. Did I miss any questions? I don't think I did. If you have, we can still stay on Q&A for a little bit. I think we answered most of them as we went along. Oh, here we have one from Hope. What do you recommend for water containers for the Bolt water challenges?
Kiddie
I think that was
pools.
Yeah.
Kiddie
And you-
pools are good. Big tubs and bins. If you already store stuff in there, dump stuff out of there and then just take those.
Yeah. And you mentioned there's like a one that you buy through the Boy Scouts.
It is. It's called the Raceway Regatta, and it's for those actual, like, it's a Boy Scout event, but I ordered them off of the Boy Scout website.
Thank you. I'm just looking for any other questions. I guess Betsy's wondering if your older devices update, or are you just running?
Yeah, they do.
Cool.
They take a little while to run the updates, but they run them.
Yes, good to know. It's out of my wheelhouse. I don't know that. Hope, what was the question that you asked? You didn't hear the answer. Which one was Hope's question about the water? Hang on. Oh, sorry if I can't. Oh, what do you recommend for water containers for the Bolt water challenges? Okay, so I'll type it out for him. So kiddie pools, Boy Scout. What was the regatta one called?
Raceway Regatta. I'm trying to Google it now and I'll get it for you. I'll throw the direct link in.
Cool.
Oh, there he's got it. Thank you.
Oh, very nice. All right. Well, if anyone, oh, one more question came in. It looks like maybe, what kind of programming language do the kids use? Or do you do it by age, draw versus blocks versus JavaScript?
That's how I do it. I do Drive for some, do Draw for some, blocks for older kids. And then actually, even with my freshmen in high school, I would start with blocks. And since on the app, you can go blocks to Java. That's one of the ways that I would introduce Java super early on. So they could read their JavaScript after they'd already done it with blocks. So
that's awesome. All right. If you have any other questions, you can feel free, if they're for Sphero, you can email us. Here, I'll put that here before we do the giveaway. And then I also have, do you mind, Brandy and Christy, if people reach out on Twitter, if they have any more questions for you? Cool. And there's their Twitter handles right here. So you can follow them. I know they're always posting great things. And with that, I think we'll do the giveaway. So let me see. It looks like Holly Joy is our giveaway winner today. So congrats, Holly. Holly, email me. And if you don't catch this, I can email you with your shipping address and whether you want an Indy or a Bolt. And my multitasking is not great. Cassandra.willer@sphero.com. Okay. And we'll get that shipped out to you. All right. Well, I want to thank our speakers again so much. I can feel the summer excitement just looking at all of your pictures. Very inspiring. So thank you for sharing your expertise with us. Thank you, Adrian, for guiding us through the Sphero guides. And thanks to all of you for joining us during a really busy time of year. We always love chatting with you and hearing from you, and we will see you in the fall. All right. Bye, everyone.